This was a dedicated group of men who carried wounded soldiers to safety. Gandhi was later awarded a medal for his service in the war. In 1903, Gandhi started a South African magazine for Indians called Indian Opinion. This paper was written in English and in 3 Indian languages, including Gandhi's native tongue. The magazine provided information about Indian political rights and goals, as well as sanitary and dietary advice. Gandhi used the success of the magazine to set up a communal farm called an ashram to run the magazine from. This was Gandhi's first ashram, but it would not be his last. It was called the Phoenix Ashram. He decided to take the Hindu vow called brahmacharya, which was a pledge to cast off wealth, sex, anger, hatred, and to speak softly. Gandhi gave up all this and opened his arms to all people. He vowed to treat his family no different than anyone else. He vowed to lead through example. The South African government soon proposed a law called the Asiatic Registration Bill. This bill would force all Indians and Chinese to register and be fingerprinted with the local government. It also required them to carry papers at all times to prove they had done so. If they didn't, it would result in imprisonment. In response to what Gandhi called the Black Bill, he staged a meeting in Johannesburg. At this meeting, thousands of Indians pledged to refuse to register. They pledged that they would face jail, beatings, and even death in this refusal. Most of them certainly would come to experience all of these things. This pledge became a movement. This movement became known as Satyagraha, which means firmness, truth, and love in a good cause. It was the first time that Gandhi had helped organize a pacifist movement. Gandhi took a delegation of Indians to Great Britain to meet with notable politicians like Winston Churchill in an effort to strengthen his movement. Gandhi's meetings caused the bill to be resigned temporarily, but it was reintroduced again in 1907 and became law. The government began to arrest Indians who refused to comply with the law. Gandhi was arrested for the first time and in 1908 was sentenced to 2 months in prison. Gandhi used his time in prison to read and learn. A book he read at this time heavily influenced him. It was called Civil Disobedience and was written by the American naturalist and author Henry David Thoreau. The prisons in South Africa were soon overflowing with Indians arrested for their defiance of the Black Bill. Gandhi decided to work out a compromise with the government. He was told that if Indians would register voluntarily, the law would be repealed. Under this assumption, he went and registered as the law called for. Some Indians found this a betrayal, and he even suffered beatings at the hands of his own followers. The law, however, was not repealed, and struggle and protest continued. Gandhi, along with many others, was jailed again. He began reading the works of the famed Russian author Leo Tolstoy, and the two of them started exchanging letters. When he was released, he opened a new ashram called the Tolstoy Farm near Johannesburg. New laws were continually being passed that repressed the Indians. One of these proclaimed that only Christian marriages would be recognized by the state. The Indian community protested this law, and many of them were jailed again. Gandhi enlisted the help of all Indians in this movement against the marriage law. He encouraged women to leave their traditional roles in the house and get out and help the cause. He wanted women to be empowered and to no longer be repressed. Through a series of protest marches, strikes, and some keen negotiations led by Gandhi, the law was changed slightly to allow for Hindu and Muslim marriages to be legal, as well as Christian marriages. Gandhi proved for the first time that his form of pacifist protest worked.
Gandhi had learned that peaceful means could be used to unite all people and to reach political goals. He soon returned to India. Unfortunately, he found that things in his native country were just as bad as they were in South Africa. Most of his people were peasants, and their rights were continually being stripped away. Gandhi returned home to a general atmosphere of disgust for British rule.
In 1915, he founded the Satyagraha Ashram. Much the same as his other ashrams, it was a place where people of all faiths, creeds, and social classes could come and live communally in peace. He rapidly spread his message throughout India. In 1919, in response to oppressive laws, Gandhi organized a huge strike and march in Bombay. The entire country marched in their respective hometowns. Huge crowds swelled the streets of the cities of India. In one town, Amritsar, people gathered in this small square. British military forces opened fire upon these unarmed citizens. 379 people were killed and over 1,000 were injured. Indians were outraged across India, and revenge was the first thought of most of them. Gandhi urged that revenge was not the answer. The answer lay in peaceful protest. Gandhi used the incident to unite all classes and religions of Indians under one cause, the pursuit of freedom. All of India was soon rallying around him. For years to come, he led many revolts and protests and was jailed repeatedly. New British laws preventing Indian home rule caused Gandhi to prompt a nationwide strike. This strike resulted in many deaths and violence. Gandhi felt people were missing the point of Satyagraha. He would punish himself by fasting. In 1920, Gandhi formed the All India Home Rule League. This organization strove for equality and freedom. He also became leader of the Indian National Congress. In the early 1920s, he used his influence to cause all Indian soldiers to quit British service. He was imprisoned, along with 30,000 other Indians for his insolence. Whether Gandhi was imprisoned or not, the marches and protests continued, but some of them were turning violent. In one march, 22 policemen were killed for trying to stop the demonstration. It seemed as though violence could emerge at any moment in India. Gandhi came to realize the futility of Satyagraha and called off the movement. In the mid-1920s, Gandhi wrote his autobiography, The Story of My Experiments with Truth. He finally realized that total independence from Britain was the only way to peace in India. In 1930, Gandhi protested a law concerning salt production in India. The British government had passed a law making the collection and sale of salt illegal for anyone except them. In protest, Gandhi planned a walk that would stretch out over 200 miles of India to the Arabian Sea. He began this march with only 80 followers. Because of Gandhi's age, they only traveled 10 miles a day. The journey to the sea lasted 24 days, which gave all of India and the world a chance to see his defiance. By the time he reached the sea, he had gathered thousands of followers. He picked up some salt from the shore and proclaimed that it was a symbol of his defiance of the British government rule. This was in clear defiance of the law. He encouraged others to do the same. This event would become known as the Salt March. This act was intended as a sign for all Indians to do the same. This march marked the dawn of Gandhi's new anti-violence movement. Over 100,000 Indians were arrested after this for following his lead. Because of the brave protest of countless Indians, the law was reluctantly repealed. In 1931, Gandhi went to Great Britain to attend the Round Table Conference. This was a political meeting concerning the rights of India. In Great Britain, he stayed in the poorest hostels in the worst parts of town. He met with textile mill workers and gained their favor. He was even invited to tea at Buckingham Palace. He wore his hand-spun clothing to this meeting, and when asked later about it, said that the king was wearing enough clothes for both of them.